terrific Sixers crossover question from Khalif, who's actually in the chat right now. He's always in the chat, right? He's always watching us. He's a loyal listener, loyal viewer. We appreciate that. And that will be the first question here. It is, number one, who is a young Eagles player that you think is most likely to take a Tyrese Maxey-esque leap into the national conversation this season? So I just want to kind of clarify the parameters of this because I love this question. Every year we kind of talk about who's the breakout player, and we'll certainly talk about that. To me, this isn't the breakout player. This is the player who is, Tyrese Maxey yesterday morning was the sports story. Well, we're not talking about the guy who like the rabid Eagles fans is saying, all right, this guy's going to have a big year. We're talking about the guy who the general everyday sports fan who's living in Des Moines, who's living in Spokane, who's living in Kalamazoo is going to be this is going to be on the forefront of their mind. There's that Twitter account where those guys make a list of things to talk about at the bar every Friday, right?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
that girl that posts that about her dad.
Exactly.
And her friends.
Yes.
Oh.
So I think who can be at the top of that list. So that's how I interpreted this question. I don't know if you kind of view it differently. I'm like last year Tyrese Maxey was already a great player, all-star caliber. What he is now is you're talking about like a franchise-esque player.
Yeah.
So that's the way I interpreted this question.
So, and I kind of answered it two different ways, but I think some of what Tyrese does is that he's very charming, right?
Yes.
He's fun to watch. Like I think fans could easily get behind him because of his crazy work ethic and because of the fact that as he's killing people on the court, he's smiling and grinning at them like a little kid as well. So in that sense, the guy that I would pick is DeVonta Smith.
Okay, yes, I like that.
Would be the one where I think even though A.J. Brown is the highest paid receiver in football, I think there is something, we've talked about this before, it's just so aesthetically pleasing about DeVonta, watching him run routes, just kind of make corners look like Looney Tunes sometimes with him getting in and out of cuts. And it's, I just kind of dig his whole aesthetic, right? Like where, the way he responds to losses, right? Where he doesn't really sugarcoat it, but he doesn't, He does not try to like downplay, what's going on. Like if something's bad, he's like, we're playing like crap right now, but in a way that feels like under control as well. So that would be one of my answers. The other answer though, just in terms of like a fun play style, somebody who kind of becomes a national star, I would say it's Jalen Carter.
Okay.
And football is different than basketball, Zach, but I'm just thinking of like the plays where Jalen Carter, the reps where he's just jumping off the screen, right? Like the swim move against the Rams. What was the play? I guess it was the Ravens, his first game he played
in the preseason.
Yeah, he got in for one play and then he literally hit the quarterback on that play. Hopefully we see a little bit more of that this year. Hopefully we see it more in November and December. But I do think he has the chance to be, if not like Aaron Donald level, like one of the best defensive players in the league and one of the few defensive players in the league that I think becomes somewhat of a household name.
I like those answers. Those were actually the top two on my list. DeVonta Smith is the perfect answer, and he was the thumbnail for today. That was actually convenient. I went to our image database, and I was searching for Sixers-Eagles crossovers. I was hoping for Tyrese Maxey at like an Eagles game. And then I see DeVonta ringing the bell. There was Jason Kelce ringing the bell, DeVonta ringing the bell, and I'm like, oh, DeVonta, it's a perfect shot for this. And because DeVonta Smith's already had a 90-plus catch season, right? He's already been a Pro Bowl caliber player. But I think that certainly he has the skill set to be one of the faces of the league. When you talk about elite players at household positions, that's what DeVonta Smith is. And I think he's just scratching the surface. Now, I understand there's one ball and it has to be distributed. A.J. Brown's there. Saquon Barkley's there. Dallas Goedert. I get all that. But DeVonta, from a volume perspective, I still think he can make plays from like an excitement level. His senior year at Alabama, he was that type of player. Like he was special. And we've seen that. I don't even want to say in glimpses. It's been consistent. But he's kind of viewed as 1A. And I think he can be one of the household names of the league. So I'm with you there. I have Jalen Carter second on my list in terms of like performance, maybe not necessarily in terms of people in Kalamazoo were talking about him.
Yeah.
But in terms of performance, I can see Jalen Carter taking that leap into all-pro caliber. I think he has the talent there. I mentioned Jordan Mailata here. I have Jordan Mailata written down. From a personality perspective, he is impossible not to like. Now, you kind of saw that post-Super Bowl, and he's singing, but if he continues kind of on the trajectory that he's on, you're not just talking about a household name nationally. You're talking about a household name internationally. And then the last one is Saquon Barkley. And I say Saquon because Saquon has an opportunity here to have his Christian McCaffrey season.
Totally.
And that's like he's already popular. But if he turns it, Christian McCaffrey went to a different level when he went from Carolina to San Francisco. And I think that's possible this year going from the Giants to the Eagles.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, because DeVonta and AJ are signed up here for a long time, that's great. I feel like one of these years, DeVonta's just going to have the crazy season for whatever reason. Like, he's going to be the one who's getting open, and Jalen, maybe a corner slips a couple times, and Jalen gets in a rhythm with him. And, I wonder how that will go, because last year in the middle of the season, it was just, AJ is getting the ball, and he should get the ball because he's just absolutely killing it every week. 125, 150 yards every single week. One of these years, I think DeVonta is... Like, what is his highest yards in a season? It's like 1,100?
I think like 1,200 thereabouts. Yep.
Like, I think one of these years he's going to just go for 1,500, 1,600, where he has the crazy year. And I think it's great that the Eagles have two options for that.
Yeah, in 2002, he had 2022, 95 catches for 1,196 yards and 7 touchdowns. And then from a personality perspective, you mentioned the joy that Tyrese Maxey has. And DeVonta Smith, look, it's not an apples for apples thing from a personality perspective. He might not be as gregarious, but he certainly is likable in the sense of just how matter of fact he is, how businesslike he is. And then on the field, I think he's a joy to watch. Like, he makes these acrobatic catches. He's not like a bully out there. He's almost like a ballerina out there. And I think that's something that people can get behind.
The catches that he makes in traffic and jumping over guys for a player his size that you would expect a big physical receiver to make. It's just a very unique combination.
We all silly like the mayor.